I never thought I'd watch my HOA president crawl out of my own pool, soaked, furious, and screaming about code violations, but that's exactly what happened. And the worst part, that was just the beginning. It started on a Tuesday morning, quiet enough that I could hear the sprinklers hissing across the cul-de-sac. I was fixing a loose solar light by the pool when I heard the sound that changed everything. A deliberate click of my side gate. Not wind. Not coincidence. Someone was coming in. Then I heard the heels. Sharp, confident, entitled. Karen Wells, president of the Maple Terrace HOA, appeared like she owned the place, clipboard in one hand, iced coffee in the other, sunglasses so oversized they could hide a small nation. "Excuse me," she barked already halfway across my lawn. "This property is out of compliance." Those were her favorite words. Out of compliance. She used them like punctuation. "Morning to you too," I said. "Mind explaining how my backyard pool is suddenly your jurisdiction?" Karen pursed her lips. "We received reports that you installed an unapproved water feature." "It's a pool, not a fountain at the Bellagio," I said, gesturing toward the sparkling water. "The bylaws clearly state. I sent the paperwork months ago. You signed for it yourself." Her mouth twitched. She knew it. But instead of backing off, she looked up at the motion sensor on my patio door and muttered, "We'll see about that." By Thursday, I had 2 violation notices taped to my door. One for unauthorized aquatic construction, the other for reflective glare nuisance. Apparently sunlight bouncing off my pool offended someone's aesthetic sensibilities. My wife laughed. "You think she's jealous?" she asked. "Jealous I installed mine without permission to breathe," I said. Still, I stayed calm. I figured the best revenge was paperwork, emails, timestamps, receipts. But Karen didn't want logic. She wanted control. Friday evening I came home from work and froze. Wet footprints on the deck leading from the pool to the gate. Not ours. Too small to be mine, too wide to be my wife's. I checked the cameras, and there she was, Karen climbing my fence in broad daylight, walking around like she was conducting an FBI raid. Clipboard on the table, phone in hand, snapping photos. Then she crouched and tested the water with her hand. "Who does that?" I should have called the cops, but I knew how that'd go. "It's a civil matter, sir. Take it up with your HOA board." And Karen was the HOA board, or at least she ran it like a monarchy. So instead I set a trap. Legal, passive, satisfying. I cleaned the pool deck with a commercial-grade degreaser, safe but slick until dry, and adjusted my cameras for full coverage. Sunday morning a loud splash woke me. My wife sat up. Did a bird fall in? I looked outside and nearly dropped my coffee. Karen was in my pool, flailing, clutching her phone above her head like a sacred relic. One sandal floated away like a white flag. "What the hell are you doing in my pool?" I shouted. "You sabotaged your property," she gasped, trying to stand but slipping again. "You broke into my yard again." "Your pool violates Code 13B, she screeched. "It's excessively reflective." I laughed. "You climbed over my fence to see that reflection." Then she slipped again, splash clipboard flying into the water like a frisbee. My wife covered her mouth to hide her laughter. Should I call 911 or the HOA emergency hotline? Karen scrambled out, soaked and furious. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "I'll have this pool drained by Tuesday." "Sure," I said. "Bring a warrant and maybe some floaties." That should have been the end. But Reason and Karen were 2 different species. By Monday, she'd plastered the community board with posts. Resident endangers community safety, unauthorized chemical use. 3 comments and someone asked who the injured party was. Karen didn't reply. I did, with video proof. The thread exploded. Neighbors chimed in. Turns out I wasn't the only one she'd terrorized. For the first time, she was the punchline. I thought she'd back off. Instead, that night I found an envelope taped to my gate, in perfect cursive. "You started this, I'll finish it." That was when I realized it wasn't about the pool. It was about dominance. The next week, a county code officer knocked on my door. "Got a complaint about chemical misuse," he said. I showed him every product, every label, even my eco-certification receipts. He laughed. "Sir, if everyone kept records like this, we'd be out of a job." When he left, I checked the footage. Karen had been lurking by my hedge an hour before. She wasn't angry anymore, she was obsessed. Then came the next HOA meeting. I showed up, uninvited, USB drive in hand. Karen's face stiffened. I dropped the footage on the table. Might help clarify recent incidents. The projector flickered and there she was on screen. Scaling my fence, slipping, splashing, shouting. The room went silent, then gasps. One guy muttered, "So she really did it." Karen tried to speak. "This is harassment," but Richard, the HOA president, cut her off. "Karen, this doesn't look good." It was the first time I saw fear in her eyes. When I left that night, I felt free. But freedom didn't last. 2 nights later, my motion alert buzzed. 1:47 a.m. The camera caught a flashlight beam sweeping across the deck, then static. When I went outside, I found a scrap of blue floral fabric caught on the fence. Her pool cover-up. That's when it hit me. She wasn't going to stop. A week later, I found my pool half empty. Someone had twisted the drain valve. The footage showed her hooded, gloved, trespassing again. I called the sheriff this time. The deputy raised an eyebrow. "You sure you don't want to press charges?" "I want her to hang herself publicly," I said. By morning, Karen's version of the story spread: pool malfunction, unsafe drainage. But neighbors saw the video. People started talking. The HOA tried to protect her, but the damage was done. I thought victory would feel good. It didn't. Because the more I watched her unravel, the more I realized I was changing too, checking cameras every hour, waiting for the next attack, sleeping less. She'd infected my peace. Then one night she came back. I caught her on the feed, standing by my pool again, barefoot, holding a small bottle. Her eyes wild. I stepped outside quietly. "Karen," I said. She froze. "You ruined everything," she whispered. "My position, my reputation. You did that yourself. You humiliated me in front of everyone," she said, voice cracking. "They call me the pool witch now. The slippery queen. You turned my life into entertainment." "I didn't make you trespass," I said softly. Her laugh was sharp. "You started this with soap. Let's see how clean things can really get." She flung the liquid into the pool. The smell hit instantly, industrial cleaner, acrid and strong. "Karen, stop!" I grabbed her wrist, but she pulled back, slipping on the slick deck. Her heel caught and she went down hard into the water. For one heartbeat I hesitated. Then instinct took over. I dove in. The water burned faintly, chemicals mixing. I grabbed her under the arms, pulled her toward the steps. She coughed, eyes wide, mascara running down her cheeks. "Don't touch me," she rasped. "This is your fault." "You could have killed yourself," I said, shaking. She looked at me hollow-eyed. "Better than watching you win." Sirens wailed in the distance. My wife had already called 911. The deputies knew her by name. She was taken in for evaluation, stress-induced breakdown, they said. The HOA dissolved the next week. Richard resigned. Neighbors stopped by to apologize. "We should have backed you up sooner," one said. For the first time in months, the street was quiet. Peaceful even. Until the message arrived. "You shouldn't have jumped in." No name, no number, just that. I checked the footage that night, 2:43 a.m. A blurry figure standing at the corner of my yard, unmoving, watching, then gone. They said Karen was under observation, but logic doesn't mean much when your enemy never played by the rules. Days later, a stack of papers showed up at my gate, HOA emails, secret board messages, proof they'd used her as a shield. At the bottom, one handwritten line: "They wanted us to destroy each other." I turned the documents into the county. The board was investigated. Richard quit in disgrace. Karen's house went on the market. She disappeared. For a while, things were normal again. Until one Friday, I found an envelope floating in the pool, sealed in plastic. Inside, a laminated card. On one side, a photo of me pulling her from the water. On the other, "Thank you for saving me. Goodbye." I stood there, sunlight flickering across the water. Maybe she meant it. Maybe she didn't. But in that moment, I finally understood something I hadn't before. Peace isn't the absence of enemies. It's knowing what you'll do when they come back.